What's up, I'm Tito Ortiz. I'm about ready to do a career interview with Hannibal TV. Check it out.
This is Hannibal from the HannibalTV.com, and today we're with former UFC light heavyweight champion, UFC Hall of Famer, and former Bellator star who just knocked out Chuck Liddell for Golden Boy Promotions, Tito Ortiz, a Huntington Beach bad boy himself, and we only have an hour, so let's just jump right into this. You were runner-up in the light heavyweight tournament at UFC 13, then you got sponsored. Can you tell us about that?
He gave me an opportunity to have my first sponsor. That was, like I said, Spanky's Triple X. It was an adult novelty store. They paid for me to become a world champion. I fought Vanderlei Silva my next fight, and they said if you can't beat him, join him. So I went up to Frank Shamrock's spot up in Stanford, and I started training with him. I fought for the world title against Vanderlei Silva in Japan. He was the #1 light heavyweight at the time, and I beat him in a 5-round decision. Became the first Mexican-American light heavyweight champion for UFC at only a year and a half of competition.
And at what point did you first meet Dana White?
First time I met Dana White had to have been, through John Lewis doing jiu-jitsu. I know he taught Dana White and Lorenzo Fertitta and Frank Fertitta Jiu-Jitsu at their office, and he brought me in there because I was the world champ at the time. And I think this is right before UFC was bought by the Fertitta's brothers, and Dana wanted to be my manager. And I wasn't really sure about it at the time, but everybody else said, this is what you should do, this would be great. And then Dana finally came to my house, and he convinced me to be my manager. And I let him do it. Had some battle backs with SEG Corporation by Bob Meyerowitz negotiating for me, and I was the champ at the time. And got to a point where I was making a certain amount of money, and Dana says, well, he deserves this and this. If you don't like it, we're going elsewhere. And I hung the phone up, and I looked at him like, are you sure you want to do that, man? And he goes, let's take a chance. So I took a chance. I took a huge chance, and I did. About 2 hours later, they called back and said, okay, the deal's done. That's what you guys want. That's what you guys are going to get. So that's how I always learned how to business, was to negotiate. That was my negotiation tactics. This is the way it is, or this is the way it isn't. So I think in the future of my career, I really made some mistakes, but they're on the things that I learned through Dana, how he showed me how to do it, how negotiation tactics were. But I mean, I learned better and better as the older I got in fighting, doing the business side of it, because if I want something, it's what I'm going to go and I'm going to get.
And whatever happened with that boxing match between you and Dana? Was that just...
So here's the great question. People always ask what happened in that boxing match, because this was just one of those things that was so untrue, so fabricated on so many points. Yes, we were supposed to box. Any fight or any competition that I've ever done that had to be sanctioned by the Athletic Commission, that you had to weigh in on a scale, there was a contract in front of you of where the funds or any type of money that was raised from the fight in general, where was that money going? And me and Dana, we agreed upon 50-50. If there was anything cut, $20 to $100,000 to $1 million, anything made from our fight, we're going to split 50-50. But when it came down to it and it was going to get done, he said, we can't do that anymore. I can't give you anything. I said, well, if there's no contract, you can't give anything, I'm not going to do it. And this was a month before the fight was even announced that was going to happen. And I told him, just don't do me. I go, I'm not doing it. They're like, well, you got to do it. I go, I don't have to do it. And any of my other fights, I always fought, and I fought for money. I've always had a contract in front of me, so the athletic sees it. And the weight class I have to make a certain weight. All of a sudden, I'm not going to get any financial revenue from it, and it didn't make sense to me. I'm a businessman. And so here was an opportunity for Dana White to show that he was this big, bad, tough guy who was willing to fight the former world champ from UFC. And he got an opportunity through Spike TV to promote it that way. Him flying around his little jets, training, saying how much he's getting ready for this fight. At the time, I wasn't even training. I wasn't doing anything because it was never going to happen. But it was propaganda on his side to show that the boxing match was supposed to happen. But I guess I wish it would have happened. That way I could actually shut him up and shut a lot of his fans up. But I'm glad it didn't happen, because I probably would have hurt him.
Would you still do it in the future if something came up?
Would I do it in the future if something came up? No, I really wouldn't. I'm so in business right now, I just got done off the knockout of Chuck Liddell. But I guess if there is any time that it would happen, would be now, because my hands are on fire and my boxing's been really, really good. But I see Dana as an acquaintance that there should be no hostility towards each other. You know, we've almost buried each other so many times in so many situations in business, you know, and I know he's done almost everything in his might to try to do harmful things against me business-wise, but I could just say I'll be the bigger man and just let it pass, and the fans know what would happen. Come on, guys, you guys know what would happen. I mean, it wouldn't be good for him. But he was able to build himself from Spike TV and off my name.
And you've credited Boss Rutan for inspiring a lot of your success. What are your overall thoughts on him?
Boss Rutan is an amazing guy. I've watched him a lot, and I think it's just the factor that he was in my weight class, and I had an opportunity to fight the guy, and I was like, I don't really want to fight this guy. This guy's a beast. I've seen him literally from Japan to Mississippi. I mean, so many different UFC events, and just type of personality, the type of person he is. He's amazing for the sport in general. But I think just to correct you on the guy who I really, really look up to would have to be Randy Couture, someone that I've looked up to through my whole career, because we fought actually on the same night, UFC 13, May 30th, 1997. He fought in the heavyweight tournament. I fought in the lightweight tournament, or middleweight tournament, and he ended up winning it. But I remember as I walked in, and he was on the scale or on the treadmill jogging. I walked in, I was like, wow, that's Randy Couture. And I looked at my coach, I was like, he's actually not in my tournament, right? Like, no, he's in heavyweight. I was like, oh, thank God. But later on, I ended up fighting him, losing my world title to him. So he is the person that I look up to. And he has made me a better fighter, because he always told me, you guys think outside the box. You got to learn the things that other guys aren't learning. So I do got to give a lot of credit to Randy Couture.
And you defended your lightweight title a record 5 times in 3 years. And you fought Ken Shamrock in your last defense before your break from fighting. When did the animosity with you and Shamrock start?
Well, I think the animosity started between me and Ken Shamrock was when I fought Jerry Bolander the first time. And I put a shirt on, and that was one of the first sponsorships that I got. And it was from an adult entertainment company. And on the back it said, I just F'd your ASS on the back, and I got paid $5,000 for it, and they didn't like it, they hated it. But Jerry Bolander was talking all kinds of smack before the fight, and I didn't say anything. I waited till the fight to be over with, and then I talked my smack, and they didn't like it. Ken hated it, and then I got an opportunity to fight Guy Metzger, and once again it was the Lions Den versus Tito Ortiz, and all those guys disliked me because I stood up against the bullies, because those guys were the bullies of MMA. I thought they were kind of like the Cobra Kai of Karate Kid. And I beat Guy Metzger, and I think 11 minutes, 50 seconds or so forth, a referee stoppage. And Ken comes over the top of the cage saying, you don't have to be so damn disrespectful, because I wore a t-shirt that said Guy Metzger's my bitch. And well, that's just my confidence. People call it cockiness, but I was just confident the way I fought, and I had to defend myself against these bullies. I was going to get bullied by another team, and I think that was the beginning that it really started. Ken went on to WWE, or WWF, which became WWE, Professional Wrestling, and then he fought in Pride in Japan. And I remember after I defended my light heavyweight title for the 4th time, I remember telling Dana White, you should give me a fight against Ken Shamrock. I think it would really sell it. And he goes, really? I go, yeah, I think it really could sell it. And then all of a sudden, about 6 months later, Dana comes back to me and says, I think we got this deal done. And I was like, let's get it done, let's do it. And that was UFC 40 when I fought Ken, and I think that was the beginning of a rivalry that was true. There was no fake storylines, there was nothing. That was true hatred that me and Ken had towards each other.
What would you say the main differences are between Ken and Frank as fighters and as people?
The difference between a fighter and people with Ken Shamrock and Frank Shamrock. Ken's a good dude now. I can't say bad things about him now. But back in the day, he was a very standoffish, thought he was larger than life, thought he was a god to life type of guy. I'd see him, the way he treated his fans, he was horrible, but he's changed. Of course, you get humbled as you get served humble pie. Frank was on the total opposite side of the spectrum. Frank was a professional who always looked for new things to do. He was a straight martial artist who understood the respect values. And as myself. I think me and Frank got along really well. He became later on, and still is, my friend. He was just a martial artist. He understood the game. It wasn't about being the big tough guy. It was about business, about what's the next step for the future, and that's what helped me through my career too. Not only just as a fighter, but as a businessman. So I think there's a separate where you got the big brawn guy compared to the guy with the smarts, who has the brawn, who has the technique and has the style because he has such an open mind. And I think that's really important in life in general, of having an open mind, and Frank is that person.
And why did you take a year off fighting after that first Shamrock fight?
After the first Shamrock fight, when I took the year off, I was in negotiations. I was trying to make more money. They wanted me to fight Chuck, and at the time, I told Chuck, not even at the time, way before that, when I was, I think, my second title defense, I said, if we ever fight each other, we should hold out to make sure we get a big part of the revenue of the pay-per-view. And he says, I agree with you, I think so. But as time started going by, and the more that he was in Dana's pocket, or in Dana's mind, or in Dana's friendship, or whatever you want to call it, that idea was lost completely. He didn't even care. All he cared about was becoming a world champion. And I was thinking in my mind, it's like, these guys are making so much money off of us, we need to hold out. And he didn't want to do that. So now here comes everything that Dana wanted to say against me, or the UFC wanted to say against me, to kind of hinder my image. So I had no choice to fight the next person, and that was at Randy Couture, and Chuck Liddell fought for a interim belt, the first interim belt that was acknowledged in the UFC, because the winner got to fight me no matter what, so they could do champion versus champion, and Randy Couture ended up beating him, and I fought Randy Couture. And
you've already talked to us about the Couture fight, but you want to get into it now, all three of your fights with Chuck?
Yeah, the first fight, once again, as I said, I got pushed into something that I didn't want to do. UFC and Dana were against me, saying I was afraid of fighting Chuck, that I was afraid because he got better sparring of me. I mean, just the things they would say, I would just shake my head, just going, are you guys serious? It's a business. Yes, fighting's fun. They always say, don't ever talk about money. Everybody makes money. Everybody makes a living. My living is fighting. Why am I not going to try to make the most revenue I possibly can by competing against another man that should be making the same amount as me? In that fight, the first fight I fought against Chuck Liddell, I made $150,000. They made $37 million, and that's just a rough draft. I'm not 100% sure on that, but what am I doing wrong that boxers are doing? The second fight, I went on a 5-fight win streak, our 4-fight win streak, and I fought Chuck for the title. The money was totally different. I got a big up front, and I got a little small chunk of the pay-per-view, but still, that was only like maybe 3% of what they totally we got. And at that time, I didn't even care. I was like, I want to fight. The first fight, when it happened, I came out, balls to the wall. I just didn't have much technique. I was still learning at the time. He caught me with, it was boom, right hand, caught me with the left hook. That left hook hit me in the eye and split my cornea. And people will watch the slow-mo too, because when he throws the hook with an open hand. And you watch me stop and circle and wipe my eye off, and I step back. When I go to wipe my eye off and step back, he notices that, and he comes in with a barrage, I think like 16 to 20 punch combination, and I blocked like the first 16 of them, and he ended up dropping with the last 3 of them. He won that fight fair and square by poking him in the eye and getting the punches after. That was behind me. I'm okay with that. After that, I ended up fighting him for the second time after winning 4 fights in a row, and I was ready for it. Once again, I did all the UFC's PR stuff. They took me on a dry run, which is I went to the Latin Grammys, and I was supposed to announce a winner or be a presenter of one of the awards, and I go there and they don't use me for anything. I go there to dry run, and this is 2 weeks before my fight against Chuck Liddell. I did it to do promotion, yes, but I thought it'd be on a bigger promotion scale, which it wasn't. On the way back, I ended up getting sick. I lost some weight. I still took the fight. I didn't pull out. I fought. I get the best fight possible. In our fighting, it says you need to defend yourself at all means necessary. You need to defend yourself. Defend yourself is holding your hands up and blocking the punches that come off you. Hit me some good shots in the first round. Second round, we traded back and forth. The third round, he hit me with a pretty clean shot. dropped me, put me in the corner. I was still defending myself. I was still holding my hands up. I was intelligent defending myself. And after like the fourth punch off my forearms, they ended up stopping the fight. I thought it was premature stopped. Liddell stayed the champion, and that fight was over. And then we come up to fight number 3, where we did the Ultimate Fighter season 11. I was training with the guys. We were getting ready. I was helping them with their fights, or getting ready for their fights. We were sparring. One of the sparring sessions, I came home, went to go take a nap for the next sparring session, and I got up and I could barely walk. I couldn't even get out of the couch. Come to realize I have C6, C7 in my neck, the disc ruptured, and I had a chance of going paralyzed. So I went to the doctor, went to Dana White's doctor, then I'm going to my doctor, did my surgery before, and he said, yeah, you got a ruptured disc in your neck, and I had to get surgery. I got C6, C7 fused in my neck, but they never showed that in the Ultimate Fighter. They said that I was afraid and I never wanted to fight him. So once again, that was propaganda against me. That was just a bad way to paint a picture that wasn't true.
And your third fight, obviously, you got the knockout in the first round pretty easily.
Well, the third fight, it was just, I was retired. I fought Chael Sonnen. I stopped Chael Sonnen in 2.5 minutes. I was tired. I started my new business, Primetime 360, which is a management company. Of course, I have my clothing company, Punishment Athletics. I started a new business, Tito Ortiz Group, which is wholesale car business here in Southern California. I was doing well. I was doing movies. I was really working hard. And then Liddell had the tenacity to call me out, saying he wanted to fight me. And I said it wasn't a good idea, but he said it was a good idea, that he wanted to do it. So I reached out to Dana. Dana says, I want nothing to do with it. You guys go ahead and make your money elsewhere. I want nothing to do with it. I was on Mike Tyson's Bite the Mic, and then I ended up talking on there and saying, one of Oscar De La Hoya would be interested about doing Tito Ortiz, Chuck Liddell 3, and all the guys at Golden Boy were just like jumping up like, really, really, really? I did the interview and it was over, and they're like, are you serious about this? You think you really can make this happen? I go, yeah, let me check with Chuck. So I text Chuck, got his number, I texted him. He's like, who's this? I told him about it. I said, what do you think about fighting for Golden Boy? We'll get 60% of the revenue. Pay-per-view, sponsorships, the gate, merchandise. We get 60% to split between both of us. And he was like, wow, we can make some really good money. I said, yeah, we can. So ended up getting it done. I went to a meeting with Oscar one week. The week after that, Chuck went in a meeting with him. And the fight got signed. We're at the Canelo Triple G fight, announcing the fight. Everything was great. The day before that, they had the UFC Hall of Fame. They had Chuck Liddell there. I was there. We went to the red carpet, and there's, of course, like 50 cameras there. And one of the guys from UFC looked at me and goes, Tito, do you want to face off against Chuck right now? There's a bunch of cameras here, but they could be good for you guys to fight. I said, 100%. Stood face to face, the cameras go up, click, 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 click. And the last thing I said is I turned around, I said, don't train too hard so you can make it to the fight. And the fight was sold. That night, I was at XS, that's in Las Vegas, the nightclub, and I was sitting at the table. I see Dana sitting at his table, so I walked over to go talk to him. I told him, thank you very much for giving us the opportunity to promote this fight. He goes, I hope you guys make a shitload of money. Good luck to you guys. I go, I'm knocking him out. And he didn't want to hear it. 5 minutes later, he was leaving. The fight gets promoted. We get ready for the fight. Everything's perfect. And I was super nervous. Of course, losing the last 2 fights didn't help. The way they sold it, everything he was saying, how he was going to knock me out. All of his fans ganging up on me, saying how he was going to knock me out. I'm going to be 3-0 against Chuck, or excuse me, 0-3 against Chuck. And I didn't believe that. I did all the sparring. I got younger guys in that I sparred with. I got many guys with my wrestling, Scott Carr, Rafael Davis for my wrestling, Casey, another kid for Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. My main sparring partners were Moses and Herdine, of course, Jason Perlo, my boxing coach. But I put in a camp like I've never had before. I put in 18 weeks of hell. I did everything I needed to do to win the fight. Chuck Liddell came in, looked like he was in great shape. He looked shredded. Abdominals showing like I've never seen before, and he looked focused. He looked like he really wanted to fight. I know I wanted to fight. The fight started, and it seemed like the whole world was in slow-mo because I was working with such fast guys. I think all the younger guys are so damn fast that when Chuck threw one punch at me, all I did was like slip once. I was like, oh, slip again. I was like, okay, this guy's being super slow. And I remember looking at him, and I hit him with a couple jabs, and I smiled at him. You are slow. I'm knocking your ass out. And I think the next flurry was him throwing, me throwing a jab, him throwing a straight right, me slipping one. And I threw a jab to a right hand, and he just fell. And then I hit him with the left, hit him with another left, just to make sure he was down. And I won the fight. And it was nice to see that all that hard work paid off, man. I was in glory, man. It was just one of those things. I worked so hard, 18 weeks, 3 times a day, 6 days a week. I put in my life for this. This was my life, and I had to make sure I prevailed. I didn't want Chuck Liddell beat me again. And the fight was over, and I was thankful to all my fans, all my family, all my friends who helped me to get to that point, all my sponsors. It was nice, and it's still nice. I mean, we were only a week and a half after, and it's still a great feeling to sit there and go, I worked for it. I made it happen. After having 8 surgeries, I was able to show that you can do anything. Just set your mind to it.
And the shoveling after, I guess, that's just representative of the end of his career. You buried.
Well, I mean, the grave digger, that's my thing. Everybody knows I do that. I do that at all my fights. Athletic Commission tried to stop me. They weren't going to stop me. I dug the grave. I dragged his body into it, and I buried him, covered him, and they couldn't stop me. They had 2 200-pound Mexican guys, Athletic Commission guys, trying to get a hold of me, and they couldn't grab a hold of me. I was on fire, man. It was just one of those things, and the fight was over, and I enjoyed the night. The next day, I kind of just shaking my head because I come to realize how many Chuck Liddell fans there truly is. Giving him every excuse in the world, saying how slow he was, and I beat up a 50-year-old man. But the last time I noticed, Chuck Liddell called me out, said he's going to knock me out. All of his fans said he's going to knock me out. And the Dana White says, I would have never let that fight happen. I don't know why they let him happen, but he's willing to promote it at the UFC Hall of Fame. Willing to say, you guys deserve it. I hope you guys make a shit ton of money. But then contradicts himself later on after the fight's over. After I smashed him, made him look stupid, saying, I can't believe they did that. It's just disgusting, this and that. I would have never done that to my friend, and da-da-da-da. But you're willing to put us face to face at the Hall of Fame UFC to promote our fight. If it was in the other way, and let's put the foot in the other shoe, or shoe on the other foot, if I would have lost to him, everybody's saying, oh, Chuck Liddell's back, and da-da-da-da, now he's going to fight Johnny Bones Jones, and I shut up a lot of people. And like I said, I can realize that how many fans he does have, and I apologize to all your Chuck Liddell fans. I beat up another one of your heroes who called me out. I was living a happy life, but
there is only a 6-year age difference too. People seem to act like he's much older than
yeah, people think that age difference is a lot different. You know, I think it's only 5 years because I'll be 44 and he'll be 48, so actually it's 4 years. Ain't that much of an age difference. It's how you take care of your body. I take care of my body. I'm thankful for having my kids. My kids keep me right. You know, they keep me focused. But I think life in general, if you want to be successful, you got to achieve your dreams. You got to keep achieving those dreams. And I'm not a person to go out and party all the time. I really treat my life like a business. So my kids understand that because I am a father. I want to make the right things, and what's more important to me in my life, my kids' future or mine, and it's my kids' future, so that's what I work towards.
What are some of your secrets for taking care of your body? Do you use the ice baths, massages?
So the secret to my agelessness. Now I have to say it to everybody, they're going to probably know. But if they don't follow me on Instagram at Tito Ortiz 1999, you'll know now. So I do a machine called CVAC. It's an altitude simulation machine. I've been using this machine since 2001 now. And it simulates altitude as it would up in Big Bear, where it simulates 7,000 feet. This simulates 24,000 feet. So what it does is compresses the air and makes your body believe there's less oxygen. So it reproduces more red blood cells in your body for recovery. Takes away swelling, takes away achiness, pain, from sparring, the hard road work, all that stuff. It takes away all that. And I've been using that, like I say, since 2001. Once in a while I do ice baths, just when it's like deep pain. You know, I'm not really a big believer of the cryotherapy, just because that's superficial on the skin. It's not deep down. But the altitude simulation machine is the ticket. That's CVAC. And over the last 4 years now, CBD is something that I drink almost every day, and it really helps out my body a lot, especially with the inflammation, the pain. I'm not a person to eat Vicodins or painkillers or ibuprofen or Tylenol. The CBD actually works really, really well, and that's something that I'm looking forward for the future to kind of integrate into sports, just because it's not a drug. It's more of just a topical that you can use for your body to help pain and soreness.
Is there any reason in particular why you never fought in Pride? Was the money just not there?
The reason I never fought in Pride was I always wanted to fight in the United States, so my fans were here in the United States. And it was always about the fans seeing what type of fighter I was, how great of a fighter I could be here in the United States. And I think that's the only reason I didn't go to Pride. Maybe a little more reasons that UFC didn't want to let go of their champion to go to Pride. But I think those are only two things. I mean, for me, I always wanted to fight live here for the United States, to see my family, my friends, to watch the fights.
And you were a coach on two of the Ultimate Fighters, both 3 and 11, I believe. What were your experiences like as a coach on that, and which one did you enjoy better?
Both experiences were great. I think the first one in Ultimate Fighters Season 3 with Ken Shamrock was the best because it was real. I hated Ken Shamrock, and he hated me. There was an opportunity to coach kids to make them the best fighters, and actually 3 of those guys, one of the guys became a superstar. Kendall Grove was an amazing fighter. Matt Hamill was an amazing fighter, but Michael Bisping became a superstar. I mean, became the world champion. Ended up great actor, great announcer. The guy is doing amazing things for his family. I respect the guy so much because it shows what hard work and dedication can achieve in life, and it came from that season. I showed these guys these things. I showed them what hard work was, and I pushed them to the limit. I pushed them as hard as they possibly could go, and Matt Hamill and Kendall Grove were the ones that were doing everything I asked them to do without questioning once. I love that season the most because people got to see a normal side of me. They didn't see the Huntington Beach bad boy. They got to see Tito Ortiz, the coach. Tito Ortiz, the mentor. But I really love that because it was real hatred between me and Ken Shamrock. Season 11, I think that was more Dana White, UFC, and Chuck Liddell versus me, and I did it because I wanted to fight Chuck. Then at the end of the season, I ended up having to get neck surgery. Instead of postponing the fight, they gave it to someone else, kicked me out of the house, make some drama about it, that I'm afraid of fighting Chuck, but then it'll show the factor I go and get neck surgery a week later. But that's behind me now, and I view on the future what's going to happen next, and I just, it is what it is. I had great experience on both of them, but I think number 3 is number 1.
And as a coach, I know this is pretty broad, but what do you think the most important thing is for a fighter to work on in preparing for fights?
What would be the most important thing for a fighter to work on for a fight? Repetition. You know, if they're a fighter, they already know bag work, mitt work, sparring, wrestling, drilling. But I think the number one of all of it is drilling, repetition, over and over and over again. So much where you dream about it, so much where it becomes a reaction when it happens instead of a thought. Because if you think about it, it's too late before you can apply it. But if you do it by reaction, it's just one thing to another. As I grew up, we grew up with college wrestling or Division I wrestling, Olympic wrestling, but it's all chain wrestling from one move to another, from one to another, and it's automatic. As this fight with Chuck, I did a little bit of wrestling, and all it was boxing. All I did was boxing because I knew I was going to box him. I was going to outbox him. I would be faster. I would have better head movement. My punches are going to be harder, and I'm just going to let stuff snap. So it was just repetition. Always willing to work outside the box. Always think of outside the box where there's other ways to learn. If you're super solid at wrestling, well, go do jiu-jitsu and kickboxing. If you're super solid at kickboxing, well, go do wrestling and jiu-jitsu. If you're super solid at jiu-jitsu and kickboxing, go do wrestling. If you're super solid at all of them, well, do all of them even more. And I think repetition is the biggest thing. Always willing to challenge yourself no matter what. That's what's really important, is challenging yourself each and every time you do train, because every day should be a new day. I remember when I started wrestling, I used to think of, God, the whole season, that's such a long season. Then I started thinking by week or by month, and I was like, God, this still seems long. I started thinking by a week, I was like, God, that's still kind of long. When I started going day by day, that's became fun. I loved to do it, and it was fun. And it's always got to be in shape. Don't ever be out of shape. Make sure you ever do road work. That's important, because you got to be able to do these moves to be in shape.
How much road work do you do on average on a typical week preparing for a fight?
Well, how much road work do I do for a fight in general? Normally it's 3 miles a day, 6 days a week run, but over the last 4 years, after all the neck surgeries I've had, back surgeries, I switched it up. I do bike work, and I watch this from the Diaz brothers, and I'll do stairs in between the bike work. So I'll ride from my house to Newport Pier, which is 8 miles, and then I have stairs at the pier, and I do 30 flights of stairs, and then I'll ride back 8 miles, and I try to get it under an hour. But that's pretty much my road work that I get done. So I'm working on my quads, working on my hamstrings, working on my explosion upstairs by doing sprints, and like I said, that's about an hour of work. So that's 5 days a week I do that.
And you want to just talk about your last 2 fights against Shamrock quickly to seal him off?
Yeah, so after the first fight I fought Shamrock, UFC 40, I smashed him in 3 rounds. And then he was crying, saying that he didn't get a fair fight, that he wants another fight with me, which is looking for more money, which I understand. So we did number 2. Number 2 lasted a whole minute and 35 seconds, I think 34 seconds around there. Smashed him super fast, and they said that the fight should have went longer. He's saying that they stopped the fight too fast, and I didn't agree with it. I thought it was baloney. I said, I smashed you. I said, what? We're going to do better. I talked to Dana. I go, we'll give it to you free on Spike TV. So we gave the fight with number 3 with Ken Shamrock, free on Spike TV. And I remember hitting the shot, Adam against the fence. I lifted him, and I ran him all the way across the other side of the ring and threw him on the floor and slammed him and started elbowing his face to death. And they ended up stopping it, and I was able to seal that fight off, and it was nice to show that the hard work does pay off.
And you fought Forrest Griffin, who won the first Ultimate Fighter. We actually interviewed him earlier this year.
I fought Forrest 3 times, and I beat him 3 times, but they only gave me one of those 3. Forrest, kid's tough. He has a huge heart. He has no quit in him. I respect the man, but when you have UFC on your side, I guess you can do what you want. First fight I beat him. That was when I had my back problem. I had a knee problem too. This is right before I had back surgery, and I had a partial tear in my knee. I fought him, won by decision. The second fight, I thought I won. I thought I was more dominant. I got more strikes than him that landed. All of a sudden they were saying, okay, he had like 300 thrown strikes, but only 50 of them landed. I was like, how are you scoring somebody by how many strikes they threw? And none of them, I checked all of them, I blocked all of them. Then fight 3 was probably a fight that I don't see how I lost. I really don't. I dropped him twice. I took him down 4 times, and I smashed him each one of those rounds. I thought I won the fight. He thought I won the fight because he ran outside the cage. Dana White goes running after him, brings him back in the cage, and gets his hand raised on my supposed to be retirement fight with the UFC. I just wanted to get away from UFC. I got away from the UFC by saying I'm retired, and I walked away because I had to get my life at home just in the right manner. I had to focus on my boy's future, and I did. So I got done with that. I walked away, and I gave my kids a different life. I went through some really challenging things during those years, but I got my life back into one, and signed with Bellator and started a new fight career.
And you managed Chris Cyborg for a while. I noticed she has a facility right next door to you. Any thoughts on her?
Chris Cyborg is an amazing athlete. She's one of the best pound-for-pound women in the world. Amanda Nunes doesn't even have any chance against her in the cage, I don't think. Chris is a hard-working woman, one of the hardest working women, even fighter in general, women or man, that I've ever seen. She's willing to do everything possible to make it, to become the best, and that's why she is the best pound-for-pound woman fighter in the world. She's amazing. But, I think at the end of the day, we all learn how to better ourselves, and she's trying to do it herself. She became a United States citizen, and she's happy about that. She got her gym right next to my clothing company. I know she's on her second home that she purchased here in the States, so she's really happy with it, man. And it just shows with hard work. A woman who had nothing, she came to us at Primetime Jiu-Jitsu's Magic Company, and she says, Tito, I have all these belts, but I have nothing in my accounts. I said, give us some time, we'll make you a millionaire. And we did that, we made her a millionaire. My partner, George Pragin, we've worked really, really hard to get her where she is right now, and we wish her all the luck in the world.
Who would you say is the greatest female MMA fighter of all time at this point?
The greatest female fighter of all time, Chris Cyborg, hands down. There's no other woman that's even came close to beating her. She's been dominant for so many years, and she'll continue to be dominant for many years. She's got to make sure her mind's in the right position and in the right place, and she could be undefeated for her whole career.
And what are your thoughts on Ronda Rousey and her recent switch to professional wrestling?
My idea of Ronda Rousey is I respect this woman like no other. For her to make the steps she's had as an MMA fighter, and even that as a judo competitor in the Olympics, to becoming a world champion in Strikeforce, to becoming a world champion in UFC, and now going to WWE. I said before the WWE, becoming a superstar doing films, and then becoming a superstar with and a world champion with WWE. It's amazing. I can't knock anything that she's doing, because you got to respect hard work and dedication, and she's doing it. And I respect the girl. I respect her a lot.
And you mentioned that you signed with Bellator. We actually interviewed Stephan Bonnar earlier this year, and he was saying that you guys actually beat UFC head-to-head in the ratings for your fight. Can you talk about that fight and what you think of that company?
You know, when I worked with Bellator, I thought it'd be a little bit greener on the other side, and we fought Bonnar. The things they were pulling for that fight was just amazing. They brought my old wrestling coach to help Bonnar for his fight. One of my old friends became his manager, and the guys he was training with were all the guys that I trained with, so they're trying to beat me, and it wasn't going to happen. At the time, I had a partially detached retina in my eye. The athletic commission knew nothing about it. I had a lot of time off, so I had to fight to pay my bills, and they ended up beating them in a decision. But it was the beginning of something that I love to do, and that was fighting. And I ended up fighting for the world title, I believe. I fought Shemeko before I fought Bonnar. I fought Alexander Shemeko, who was a 185-pound world champion. He was undefeated. He came up to fight me in a fight. I choked him in 2.5 minutes, unconscious. And then I fought Bonnar as more of a hatred fight. He was saying stuff that were lies. He was saying stuff that has nothing, any relevance in my life. And it was
almost like wrestling too when you guys did the initial promo.
Oh my God, the stuff that Bonnar was doing just made me cringe. I was just like, this guy is just coming out the side of his neck, some of the things he was saying. But it was great because it built hatred, and that's what people like. People like hatred. I guess that's just society in general. But I did hate the guy. I got an opportunity to beat him. I beat him, got my hand raised with a detached retina. My retina was completely detached after the fight. I got hit with the right hand and detached the retina completely. I ended up having to get eye surgery. After that fight, I fought for the world title against Liam McGarry, and I was dominating, but his little slick jiu-jitsu caught me in a reversed triangle, and I had to tap. That was the first time I caught in a submission like that in a long time. I ended up just being on my ideas of just, man, I want to finish out my contract with Bellator. I need to finish my contract out with Bellator. So all of a sudden, Chael comes up, Chael Sonnen, saying he wants to fight me. And I was like, great. I get an opportunity to beat somebody who pinned me on my birthday. 19 years to the date of that fight, or 18 years to the date of that fight, we wrestled against each other in Division I college. I wrestled with Cal State Bakersfield. He wrestled with Oregon State, the Ducks. And I ended up wrestling him. Or no, actually it was Oregon State. Not Oregon State. We wrestled for Oregon, the Ducks. And we wrestled on my birthday, January 23rd. And he hit a low single on me. I got away, I got out. And I went to go lock up with him, to go tie and lock with him, and hit him in a headlock and put him on my back and was choking me almost and pinned me on my birthday. And I remember running on the stairs that night, just so angry. I was running the stairs up and down, up and down. The duel got over. The coach was like, Tito, better come right now. But I was so mad. I was just so embarrassed myself. He says, "You better come before we leave you." And I remember going back to my hotel and get on the phone with my girlfriend, became my wife, and crying to her, telling her I got pinned on my birthday. She's like, "Don't worry, it'll pay off, I promise, don't worry," because I had to wrestle the next day against Oregon State. Came down to the duel. I wrestled the number 10th guy in the nation, and I was beating 2-1 in the second period. He picks down, he goes to get away, and I cradle him, and I put him to his back, and I pin him. I win the duel for our school. It was a dual meet wrestling match, and I won the duel for our school by pinning him. And it was just one of those things that if I would have lost to Chael Sonnen, and I would just put my bags together and I would have sat in the corner and pouted and just didn't say nothing, would I have won the next match the next day? But I think that's what hard work of individuals that want to be successful don't just give up when something bad goes wrong. They work for something to make themselves better. And by running those stairs over and over again that night, I think it just made my mind that much more stronger. So the next day I got repaid for what I was willing to sacrifice. And Chael forgot all about it. When we signed for the fight in general, I brought that up to him again, and he forgot all about it. He's like, "Oh shit." And he didn't realize how much that was dwelling in my mind, how much I've been thinking about it. And I was able to get a fight with Chael, and I smashed him in 2.5 minutes. It wasn't even a match. People try to say that that he tapped me out with a top side choke, and I don't even understand why would someone let go of a choke if I was tapping and the referee not stop it to let me turn around and choke him out. I think it was just a facade that he was trying to build for fans to believe what he was trying to say, which is completely wrong. And I know what I did because I almost ripped his head off. I mean, I tried to pull his head, to rip his head right off. I tried. And the referee stopped. He got to stick his finger of my jugular to let go, and I finally did let go. But you saw his face turn purple. And I was able to get my hand raised and walked away. It was nice to beat someone who's talked so many bad things about me, about my family and everything, and to get the redemption. That's how I've always been. I've been respectful to a point before the fight, but there's always been 3 rules of my index of not talking smack is never talk about a person's family, never talk about their country, and don't lie. Those 3 things are really important, and I think that's what is a horrible recipe of smack talkers, just making sure you don't say the wrong things at the wrong time that really don't make any sense or really doesn't have any truth behind it.
I'm going to ask you a few wrestling related questions now, and I'm going to make it live for the fans too, since we're mostly a wrestling channel.
All right.
And
is it professional wrestling style?
Yeah, professional wrestling.
Okay. Yeah, cool. I'll make a fan of it.
All right, so we're live here with Tito Ortiz, and we're going to ask him some professional wrestling questions.
Professional wrestling questions, yes.
First of all, how do you think Brock Lesnar is going to do against Daniel Cormier if that fight happens?
Man, see, I like Brock. Brock's my boy. My kids love Brock. I like Daniel Cormier also. He's an amazing athlete. You can't do both. You can't do the professional wrestling and MMA. You pick one or the other. And if you try to mix both of them, you're not going to do well. But I think Brock does have a chance.
And you were a wrestling fan since you were young, right?
Yes, it's like, I think, as far as I can remember, like 6 years old. I mean, back in the day with like the Junkyard Dog and, God, of course, Hulk Hogan, Macho Man Randy Savage, the Ultimate Warrior, King Kong Bundy, God, Tito Santana, got so many guys I can remember coming up. The British Bulldogs, was it Legion of Doom? I mean, I can think back so many guys that I've looked up to, been able to watch, and I've always been a huge fan. I remember as a kid, I tell my mom one day, I'm gonna grow up, Mom, you're gonna see my name in big letters and say Tito Ortiz. I didn't know it was gonna be in mixed martial arts as a fighter. I thought it was gonna be professional wrestling. I mean, that's why I started wrestling in high school. So, but it's all in its own terms. I worked hard and I was able to achieve many things as a professional fighter. But I'm still a big fan of WWE. Actually, my boys were at Survivor Series just recently, and it was nice to go backstage to talk to all the guys and talk to Shane McMahon and see Ric Flair. It was just amazing. I'm a huge fan of professional wrestling.
Any chance that we'll ever see you cross over? I know you spent time in TNA for a short while.
Any chance of me going to WWE? Huh. I don't think any of those guys there want me to kick their ass. I think that's the reason why they don't bring me there. But Shane, if you need some work done, I could be the man.
How would CM Punk do in a fight against you?
CM Punk, he would get punked. It would be the easiest punk of all punks. I would slap him around, bury the grave, bury him, let the Undertaker walk him out.
Do you think that like he made professional wrestlers look kind of pathetic with his performances in UFC?
I think Brock Lesnar is the one who put the staple down of how professional wrestlers truly are. Coming from an amateur wrestling background, but to become a world champion UFC also, Brock Lesnar is the man to get all the credit for that one.
So who was responsible for bringing you into TNA?
Who was responsible for bringing me into TNA? It was actually a couple people. Dixie
Carter.
Dixie Carter, there we go, excuse me. See, Dixie Carter, if you're watching, I apologize. I'm horrible.
She's very hated by wrestling fans.
Yes, Dixie Carter. She actually brought me out, and she helps me out a lot of coming in. I got an opportunity to actually talk to Hulk Hogan for like 4 hours. Who's an amazing man. A lot of resemblance of stuff through my life. And of course, one of the other guys who helped me bring myself in was Jeff Jarrett. Jeff Jarrett is an amazing guy. I love the guy. He's an amazing wrestler. I actually got to do the match with him, but it was pretty cool. It was fun to be on that side of the ring.
Someone's asking on here if you'd ever consider wrestling for New Japan Pro Wrestling.
If I ever consider New Japan Wrestling. So I guess this answer goes back to the same answer that you asked me if I would go, how come I never fought in Pride in Japan.
Yeah.
And I think it's really giving back to the fans. I want you fans to watch it live. And if I did go anywhere, it would be WWE if I did go anywhere. But like I said...
Well, they do have an office in LA now, New Japan, and they've had shows in Long Beach this year. And
really?
The Cow Palace. So.
It's a possibility, but I don't think any of those guys could handle me. Unless they want to get knocked out or choked out. I mean, those are the two separations. I'm not going to come in and I'm not going to wrestle. I'm not going to let you throw me around. It's going to be a street fight, and I'm going to knock you out unconscious or choke you out unconscious, one or the other. Thoughts
on Mark Coleman?
Mark Coleman, great champion, great former heavyweight world champion, amazing athletic wrestler who represented our country. We had our differences, and I'm able to leave it at that. Mark Coleman was an amazing champion.
Did you watch Fury versus Wilder?
I did not watch Fury versus Wilder. Actually, I was at home with my kids, and I think we were watching a movie on Fire Stick.
And what are your thoughts on Don Fry?
Don Fry, that's the man with ground and pound. I learned my elbows from watching Don Fry. I love the guy. He's an amazing guy. Someone that people will never forget. Anybody who's been a UFC fan, they'll understand Don Fry. He was the guy with the amazing elbows, and those are the ones I learned from.
Do you have anyone up and coming at Team Punishment that you could tell us about?
Yeah, actually, not Team Punishment. I kind of got rid of the Team Punishment attitude. Now it's just about being in management and working with Primetime 360, my management company, with George Praising. Don Madge, who just fought actually in UFC. He got won by knockout, 145-pound fighter. He's an amazing fighter from South Africa, and the kid is just a stud, and he'll get better and better and better. And we're actually trying to reach out to some other fighters who are up and coming. We actually just signed BJ Penn, who'll be fighting on the New Year's card, and actually looking to re-sign Alston Overeem with the UFC contract. So a lot of other bigger fighters starting to come to our management company because they realize how much I'm able to offer to them, because I've done so much in mixed martial arts. I made a lot of mistakes as a fighter, so I'm able to fix those mistakes as a manager and giving back to each one of the fighters that sign with our company.
Someone's asking on here if you still have any desire to fight Rampage.
Do I have any desire to fight Rampage? Not really. He's my boy. He's a really good friend of mine. It's someone I think I would have to hate to fight, and I love Rampage, so nah, I don't think so. And
your kids are right here, so I'm just going to ask this generically, but someone's asking how your relationship is with Jenna now.
0.
And Sakuraba won at UFC 14. Do you have any recollection of that fight?
Yeah, I think he won by armbar. I'm a huge fan of Sakuraba. I love Sakuraba. Someone asked me if I ever went to Rizin, if I ever fought for them, who would I love to fight? And Sakuraba was my answer, because I've always wanted to fight Sakuraba. I know he was a couple years older than me, but still, I thought he was one of the best wrestler fighters from Japan, and I've always looked up to the guy. The guy's amazing.
Someone's asking on here how you would do against Brock Lesnar.
How would I do against Brock Lesnar? Now, come on, people. Brock, you know, it would be submission. Come on. I'm a wrestler. I can defend the takedown. He's a bigger man, so I'd be looking for chokes, rear naked chokes, guillotines. I don't know. I'm willing to challenge my skills versus his. He outweighs me by a few pounds, but I like Brock, man. I think Brock's a good dude. I think he's a good athlete, and I think he's worked hard for where he is today. And I'd have to team up with Brock, not fight against him.
Were you ever close to fighting Matt Mitrione after the beef you had at the press conference?
I almost had almost got a scrap with him, but it was not in the cage. It was strictly in a business environment with UFC, and we did stand up against each other, and it almost did. But he was a real man. He stepped up and he apologized for what he said, and that's all I wanted was just an apology, and he gave it. And I respect the guy. I think he's an amazing fighter and an amazing father.
Someone's saying, since you live in California, they're wondering your thoughts on marijuana being legal here.
That'll be the next step. I think that's the next billion-dollar company's taking over. It shows so many positive things compared to the negative things that they allow here in the United States, is cigarettes or alcohol. So
it's legal in Canada now.
Finally legal in Canada. Congratulations.
Any thoughts on continuing to pursue an acting career?
Acting career is something I'm going to consider continue doing. Last year I was able to do a few movies. This year was strictly about the fight against Chuck Liddell. That's all I focused on. 18 weeks, 3 times a day, 6 days a week. That's all I focused on. So I think I'm going to enjoy Christmas. I'm going to enjoy New Year's and my birthday, and then just get right back to work.
Is the Lee Murray story true?
Lee Murray's story is about 50% true. There's my side, there's his side, then there's the truth.
Is there anyone that you idolized that you fought?
Anyone idolized that I fought, I'd have to say Randy Couture.
Was that more difficult because of how you looked at him?
Yeah, I think it was someone I looked up and I respected so much because of how good of a collegiate wrestler he truly was. Someone's asking, is Golden Boy one and done, or is there going to be more? There'll be more Golden Boy. Just watch. I don't want to count my chickens before they hatch, but just give it time. Your stand-up game has improved dramatically throughout your career. What was the process on that? The process on that is 18 weeks. 18 weeks, 6 days a week. I took 2 hours of training in boxing. That's all I did. Was boxed hands, box southpaw, bark orthodox. There's a lot of guys who I sparred with, a lot of sparring, but a lot of mitt work, a lot of repetition, just over and over and over, and it showed for my fight. And the last fan question I'll ask you is, did you talk to ONE FC or Bellator before giving the fight to Golden Boy? I did not talk to ONE FC or Bellator. I went to Oscar and Golden Boy because to be cut in as a share revenue of the whole event, that made more sense to me than being a contractor where I only got one lump sum. And last thing, is there any truth that you might be fighting Dan Henderson? There is no truth to me fighting Dan Henderson. You've heard it first right here. Very good. I'll shut this down. Your thoughts on Kurt Angle and how he would have done in MMA? My thoughts on Kurt Angle. Probably one of the best American collegiate wrestlers, heavier weight at least, to wrestle. He's amazing athlete, but ended up going to professional wrestling. And if he went to the MMA side of it, he might have been the same thing in MMA side. He might have been a world champion. But once again, it would have came down to him learning how to punch, learning how to kick, learning how to do submissions. And I was the champion at the time, so I would have beat him. But he's done great for his job as a professional wrestler. It's hard work, it's dedication, it takes perseverance. And he's shown it through his career for sure, with all the injuries he's gone through, and be able to battle through those things to continue on doing what he's doing in the professional wrestling world. What was it like being on Celebrity Apprentice and working with President Donald Trump? Working on Celebrity Apprentice was a lot of work. We worked 7 days a week, worked about anywhere from 12 to 16-hour days. And working with Donald Trump was someone who I was always on my shoulder asking questions, how to become a millionaire, how to become a billionaire. And he says, well, Tito, I work 7 days a week. I work from when I wake up until I go to sleep. And when I'm sleeping, I have people working for me. I said, well, I want to know how you become a billionaire. He goes, well, if you want to stay a millionaire, you got to have 5 sources of income coming in. I go, if you have those 5 sources of income coming in, each year, you can stay a millionaire. Now, if you have those 5 sources of income running themselves and start 5 other ones, you could possibly become a billionaire. And it showed what hard work and dedication can achieve. And I'm trying those things and I'm doing those things. Like I said, I have my clothing company, Punishment Athletics. I have my management company, Primetime 360. I have my car business, TO Auto Group. I have a possibility of starting a promotion organization with Oscar De La Hoya. And so I guess my 5th one is my acting stuff. But that number 4, the Oscar De La Hoya thing, I hope that really is a home run. I hope it does work and I get these 5 sources of income coming in so my children will never have to worry about financial stuff in the future. All they need to understand is hard work and dedication can't achieve anything.
And I heard you say on Joe Rogan's podcast that you went out partying with Lennox Lewis a few times, but you didn't give any real details. Could you give us any details on that?
There wasn't really any much detail. I mean, it was just one of those things when you're in an office 7 days a week, anywhere from 14 to 16 hours a day. You got to have the little nightlife where you're able to enjoy New York. And me and Lennox Lewis did that. He was a cool cat, really, really cool dude, fairly mellow-mannered, but just nice as hell. And it was a guy who I looked up to. I was a world champion, Lennox Lewis, but it was no more than that.
What do you think was the most important win of your career?
The most important win of my career, winning the light heavyweight world title against Wanderlei Silva. But I think there's 3. I like the 3 because there's different parts of my life and my career that I was able to really understand. Number 1 has to be Wanderlei Silva winning the world title. But number 2 would have to be Ryan Bader, UFC 132. When I choked him in 2.5 minutes, I was a 8-1 underdog. And I wasn't supposed to win. Everybody's asking me, what are you going to do after this fight? Are you going to retire? Are you going to do something else? And then I go, what are you talking about? I'm winning this fight. Everybody counted me out. And then number 3 has to be me versus Chuck Liddell 3. Chuck Liddell said he was going to knock me out. All his fans said he was going to knock me out. People thought I was going to lose. And I showed what hard work and dedication can achieve. I stopped him in the first round. And I don't think anybody in his career besides Rampage has only stopped him that quick. It was just, I was on point. People try to look at the mistakes that Liddell was doing, that he was slower and he looked bad. Look how good I was. I looked way different than any of my fights. My striking was on point. My head movement was on point. People look for the negative things in it because that's what people kind of thrive on. I look at the positive things because that's what I thrive on. That's what my fans thrive on, is the positive things to make my future better. And in that fight it showed. So like I say, Wanderlei Silva number 1, Ryan Bader number 2, and Chuck Liddell number 3.
And what was it like living in a haunted house?
You're talking about up in LA. So my ex, she had bought an older home, and I come to find out someone died in the home, and I felt presence in the home, sitting on the couch, and I always thought that someone was watching me as I watched TV, and it scared the shit out of me a lot of times. There was another time that she was out doing a photo shoot, and I was laying in bed, and I heard someone walking up the stairs, and I called for her, and no one was at home. I was like, what the hell is going on? So we had a medium come in the house, and they shot on the show. If anybody saw Ghost Stories, it was one of the stories that I did that was on there, and I come to realize that there was a guy in there who hung himself and wanted either that person to come in and tell me the story, or just saying that I'm a good guy and everything I've gone through is going to turn around. But it was scary. It was just one of those things that you kind of realize, is it real or isn't? Or is it just your mind playing games on yourself? And I think it might have been a little bit of both with me, but I'll take it. There was a ghost in the house, and he wanted to just acknowledge the stuff that I've done. And like I said, she said some things that no one knew nothing about. She was talking about my grandpa wearing a captain's hat. Didn't know nothing about that. No, I never said anything about that in any of my interviews. My grandfather on my mother's side being really big, he was a Pacific Palisades priest in Hawaii. They knew nothing about that. She said something about that. Then when she started talking about my kid, my oldest son Jacob, about he loves you and He loves you no matter what, and he knows that you're sorry for the times you're away from him. Things like that are just very personal. How would someone know that unless someone else said it to her? But no one else knew about any of those stories, so that's why I just took it to heart that this girl knows what she's talking about. There is somebody that came from the afterlife and reached out to me to help me mentally with myself and the stuff that I deal with, and it did help.
And we do some UFO interviews on this channel, so I was just wondering what your thoughts are on UFO sightings and...
UFO sightings, I've had 2 of them. One when I was about 7 in Mexico, seeing a bunch of lights at a distance and then horizon and leaving. Another one when I was about 12, 13. Once again, there were lights in a formation up and leaving. I used to say yes. I'm not a crazy person, but how's all our technology come so damn fast? How do we make technology happen so fast in this world? And I think there's someone outside showing. I mean, people, you guys can say I'm crazy, or you can believe me. That's the way I think. I look at reality. There's always a little truth to what people say. I look at Back to the Future, and I think it is in part 2. They're saying, yeah, we want channel 99 or what? 999, 742, 810, and back then people go, that would never happen. What do we have now? We have over 1,000 channels on our television. There's so many things that just happen so fast, and that technology, yeah, it happens from human beings, but I think there's someone else that's giving technology to us too. But that's my opinion.
And if you could have only one more fight and it could be against anybody, who would you choose?
If I had one more fight and it was anybody, who would I choose? See, now I can't say someone that I fought already who's retired, because then I'm fighting old people. I'd have to fight someone who is recently as a fighter. I would say if Ryan Bader won the heavyweight championship, I would fight Ryan Bader. I'd give him that opportunity. Why not? That'd be great. Let's do something with Golden Boy. Let's get huge pay-per-views. Let's conjoin 2 organizations together and make it happen. I think that fight would make the best interest. If that wouldn't happen, I would love to kick Chael Sonnen's ass again. He just has a loud mouth, and I dislike the guy.
And you mentioned Chris Cyborg, you're a fan of her. Is there any male that you're a fan of in MMA right now?
Fan of any male, the male fighters. The kid we managed, Don Imagine, he's amazing, man. The guy's really, really good. But Johnny Bones Jones, he is just a specimen. That kid, I wish he would just get good people around him. He would do the right thing. I think he has. We'll find out New Year's how he fights and how well he does. But Johnny Bones Jones has really set the record for being one of the best pound-for-pound fighters in the world. He beat my record. I think he has 8 title defenses now. Mine was 5. But he's an astonishing athlete.
How important is the talking before a fight to both get in your opponent's head and to create public interest in fights?
I think the combative sport of mixed martial arts, or fighting in general, you gotta find a story, you gotta find a backstory, you gotta find someone to build where another fighter hates another fighter and find the reason for that, and be able to build that the right way where the fans are like, I like this guy or I like that guy. You don't want them to be in the middle. You want them to like or love or hate the other, and that's what I've learned through my whole career. And you gotta have that to sell a fight the right way. And you see some of the biggest pay-per-views. That's why they were sold, because the other person hates the other person, and this fan hated this fan because they had differences in life or different ideas in life, and that's what makes it so interesting.
What did you think of Creed 2 there when they kind of changed the...
I didn't get
Oh, you didn't see it yet? Okay.
Yeah,
They kind of didn't use that formula.
Yeah.
But you've mentioned your businesses a few times, but you want to tell us where people can follow you again?
Yes, well, my clothing company, Punishment Athletics, where we're at right now, you go to punishment.com. It's family owned. There's 3 of us that work for it. We make sure orders go out. I look over all the designs. I agree, yes, no, but everything's done in-house. TO Auto Group, which is my car company, you go to toautogroup.com, and that's for wholesale cars. And of course, Primetime 360, ESM.com, which is my management company. And I just keep working, man. Just working as hard as I possibly can. So I worked hard the last 21 years, from a kid coming from the streets that had nothing to achieve what I have in my life, and to never have anything given to me. I work for everything I have. I'm very, very thankful. And to show all you guys that, hard work does pay off, and do it the right way. Don't ever step on anybody, get ahead. Always reach at your hand as you come up, but if they ever try to pull you down, let them go. Just being a good man. Respect. Right, son? Respect.
You want to bring your son in for the end of this?
Come here, Jesse Journey.
Is there anything you want to say to close it off now that you have your kids?
Yeah, here's my boys. Want to introduce yourself?
My name is Journey. My name is Jesse.
This is Journey Jet Ortiz and Jesse James Ortiz. My true name is Jacob. My oldest son Jacob actually is in Arizona, but we're the Jays.
Yes.
Yes. A lot about hard work and dedication. They wrestle, they do kickboxing, and they do jiu-jitsu. Yep. And what else you do good in? School.
Yeah, school.
Yes, they're really well in school. But this is my family.
So they might be future MMA fighters.
What's our agreement? What do you guys got to do first?
Yeah, master degrees.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Get their master's degree, and then they could be fighters. That's I agree upon with my oldest, so that's our agreements with them. So my oldest says he's going to be in business management, so he got the first step down. These ones are still a little young; they're enjoying life as kids now, but they're doing the great stuff.
All right. Well, thanks a lot for talking to us, and good luck with whatever you end up doing next.
Awesome, thank you. Tito Ortiz on Hannibal TV. Get it.